All right, on the way to the gym, leg day. I do enjoy training legs. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I definitely don't dislike it. I always look forward to it. Legs give you the opportunity to really prove to yourself how far you can push yourself. For whatever reason, just more so than training any other body part. I guess maybe because you can throw so much of like your strength into it. So that's kind of the reason I like training legs, is I like to see how far I can push myself from like a systemic point of view. So yeah, it'll be fun. All the machines that I do, that I have access to, that I use at this gym that I go to, are awesome. So yeah, it's going to be fun to take you guys through. Now, the 3-on 1-off split that I've been doing, I've been manipulating that so it's not really 3-on. It still is 3-on 1-off, but I'm not following the workouts in order anymore. And the reason for that is my legs are just, they outgrow every other part of my body. And as I've said a million times now already, my back is just so far behind everything else. So instead of training legs, like the split is designed so if I were to follow it in order, I'd be training my legs once every 8 days. But even that is like maybe a little bit too much. It seems over the course of this rebound, I've trained legs as least frequently as I ever have, and they're still like growing like crazy. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm just making sure that I do 3 back days per week, and I alternate my 2 push days between those 3 back days, and then about every 9 to 11 days or so I throw in my legs. So I'm pretty sure at this point, I'd have to look at my calendar, but the last day I trained legs was probably 10 days ago or so. So yeah, it'll be good. That makes it so I'm looking forward to it even more. But what I'll do is I'll insert a screen share after this clip of me showing you guys what exactly that looks like in my program spreadsheet, as well as another place I track my workouts is on my calendar, which is especially important for me to be doing now because of the way that my training's all offset and I'm kind of choosing what I do as I go. So I'll show you guys how that all looks like. I'll just insert that clip of me sharing my screen and explaining that after this clip. Okay, so here's how I'm running this split. So as you can see, last week, if we look at starting Saturday here, after I took 2 days off, I started with a pull day. Then I did legs, push, rest day, pull, push, pull. So within this 7-day period from Saturday to Friday last week, I did back 3 times. So that's my main goal, is to make sure I'm doing back 3 times in a week. And one of the ways that I'm facilitating that is because my legs grow very easily. I am doing legs like only every roughly 8 max to like 12 days, every 12 days. So now what I'm doing this week is starting with a pull today, push, then I'm throwing in legs here, because I don't want them like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I would have to put them on Friday here, because I don't want to do them before a pull day, because both legs and back are both very systemically fatiguing body parts to train. So I don't want those back to back, because the second workout you do will suffer if you have those back to back. So after that, though, I am going to separate my legs quite a bit. So then I'm doing a pull again, push again, pull. So this week, there's going to be 3 back days. So perfect. Then a rest day, and then pull, push, pull again, and then legs. So again, within this 7-day period, Saturday to Friday, I'm doing back 3 times. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically how that looks. So it's definitely not conventional like most people do and should run a split where, it's the every day of the week you're training the same body part that you normally train that day of the week. But since I know that I have weak points that need to be brought up and strong points where I can get away with training them less, and they'll still, like, my legs still grow. That's why I'm doing this. Gotta find the perfect pre-workout song. This one's pretty good, actually. All right, so I always like to start legs off with hamstring isolation. So lying leg curls, standing leg curls, or my favorite, seated leg curls. This is kind of like a good way to sort of get your knees warmed up, sort of pre-exhaust your hamstrings. So when you get into quads, you're not overcompensating with them. Yeah, so this machine is awesome. Pretty much like the benefit I feel over the seated, the benefit of the seated leg curl over lying or standing is you're just so much more locked in with the seated leg curl. Like, you're not going to use much else than your hamstrings, just the way they're designed. And this one is especially, this machine specifically is especially good for that. It really gets you locked in. You'll see it's really hard to get locked into and out of when you're done. But that's a small price to pay for like how well it gets you locked in, the angles, etc. So already did my warm-up set, so I'm going right into my first working set. Last week I did 187. This week I'm going up to the next level, which is 198. My rep range is 6 to 12. Last week I did 10, 9, and 8 on sets 1, 2, and 3. So I'll try to beat those reps with more weight. But if I just hit the same reps that I did last week with the same weight, of course that's cool too. That's still more than last week. So yeah, I kind of like where I'm at in the rep range. So I think eventually I like to go a little bit higher. So I'd like to go to the top, and then just stick with increasing weight from there. But so yeah, let's do the first set. All right, so obviously like set it up so you're getting the biggest stretch on your hamstrings as possible. So like when I lock this pad in, like there's a stretch on my hamstrings right now. Okay, hold the contraction, slow and control the centric, emphasize the stretch. All right, so yeah, I beat last week's reps with more weight, so that's sweet, double progression. So this is actually only the third time I have trained legs in the last 5 weeks. And my legs are still basically growing, so that justifies the way that I'm staggering them. So it's hard to say because, I'm using a new machine here. But I mean, chances are, because I was not gaining strength for a long time, like not a long time, but a couple of weeks leading into prep, I'm likely just regaining strength that I had lost. So this is likely going to happen each time you start a new training phase, because you shouldn't be starting, at your PRs. So that's why it's good to, for the first few weeks at least, like when you're progressing, increase with weight, because you might also be able to increase with reps as well, like I just did on this first set. And I'm going to see if I can do it on my next 2 sets here as well. Another note on the setup here, I like to put the seat pretty far back. This one is actually as far back as it goes. That way, like, sure, my butt is pretty far forward still, like the seat could be up higher, but I like to kind of lean back into it. Just sort of feels better with the exercise, essentially. So, I mean, you can play with that whatever way feels best for you do, but personally I really prefer having the seat back far so I can lean and kind of decide where I get locked in, so to speak. But okay, set 2. So last week 9, this week Going for 10, I'm doing more weight though, so if I end up at 9, that's cool. Sweet, so yeah, that was 10, and probably could have got at least another partial out, so still lots of runway on this exercise. I'm gonna start using my timer. All right, so last week I did 9 or 8 with less weight. Let me double check. Yeah, last week I did 8. Another double progression here, so more weight, 1 more rep. Should be able to do it. All right, awesome. So yeah, double progression on every set. Definitely flew close to the sun on this last one. If I were to go for another rep, it'd probably be complete failure. So, all right, so this is the most important exercise in my leg workout, the adduction machine, or adductor machine, whatever you want to call it. This is the one area on my legs the judges did say could be a little bit bigger. It's the type of muscle that can never be too big. That's like the insides of your, right here, the inside of your thighs. The reason it's so important in bodybuilding is because it makes it so if you have big adductors, there's no gap between your legs. Because the more gaps you have in your physique, the smaller you look, right? But anyway, because this is such an important, the most important leg exercise I do, now that I'm only training my full leg day once every 9 to 12 days, I do separate these as well. So if I've gone a week without training my adductors, I'll put them with a back or one of my push or pull days just at the end of the workout. And I am doing these a little bit differently in terms of how I do the set. And this kind of touches on a question I got asked this week about what do you think of top sets, back off sets. So for this, what I'm doing, my rep range is 12 to 18. For the last year and a half, I've just stuck with one weight and pretty much done 18, 16, 14 reps for every set. Because I've been doing that for so long and I do want to bring these up, I'm now doing 4 sets, so I added a set. And the first set I do kind of like a top set. So I go heavier and closer to the bottom end of that rep range. So last week I did 13 reps with 176. I am going to work up a little higher, so I'm going to stick with that same weight. See if I can do 14 reps this week. Then for the second set last week I dropped, and then third and fourth I dropped again. So I'm just kind of fooling around just to make it a little bit different than I've been doing it for the last 2 years, year and a half basically. So if you're doing these, set these up as wide as you can go basically. You want to get a nice full stretch. So I can go as wide as the machine goes. Use your arms to help you get into the position you want to be in. And then all the way full stretch. Squeeze, hold that contraction. Nice slow on the way down, get a nice full stretch. This will be a warm-up set because I'm having to adjust so much. Yeah, again, this machine's awesome. Among the best adductor machines I've used. My shorts are getting smaller now. Are my shorts getting smaller or my legs getting bigger? But the skin on the seat is pinching, so I gotta make sure my shorts are in between the seat and my legs. Okay, first working set, so I'm going for 14. Unless I can do more. Oh yeah, another good note on these is make sure all the pressure is on your knees and the pads. You don't want your feet to be doing any pushing. So all the pressure's on my knees, and that's where I'm pushing from, because your adductors are just here. They're not on the lower part of your leg. Oof. So you see, like I can float my feet if I want. All right. Oh, fuck. Oh. So yeah, got our 14. So yeah, this first like top set I do is definitely a little quicker tempo. So I guess that you could say is part of the benefit of doing a top set and then back off set is you can have more of like a heavy clang and bang style set, and then the rest can be slower, more controlled. All right, yeah, so last week I dropped the weight down a notch and did 14. So it should be 15 or more this week with the same weight. I'm keeping the weight the same. Because on these, as soon as I drop the weight, I want to be closer to the top of my rep range, which is 18 now. Okay, 15 or more. And it's really hard to maintain a good tempo on these, but I'll tell you, based on how it feels, it doesn't really matter. As the blood fills into your adductors, it just gets, I can't go as deep. Like I go, the stretch happens at a lot more shallow of a range of motion. I also can't, it's way harder to hold that contraction, but I mean, as long as the first few reps are as close to perfect as possible, you can, the technique on certain exercises like this, isolation exercises, you can allow technique to break down a little bit. All right, so third set here, last session, so I'm dropping the weight down one more notch, and I did 16 and 14 last week. So hopefully we can do 17 or 18, and then maybe 15 and 16. And then that way, these last two drop-off sets are closer to the top end of the rep range. Then eventually I'll get to a point where I'm not dropping off twice, and I can increase the weight for these last two sets so it matches the second set. And I'll probably keep that first set as a top set and just keep increasing weight to kind of stay at the lower end of that rep range. At the end of the day, I'm just having fun with this. But there is something to be said with changing things up a little bit. Most guys overdo this, where they try to just completely change the exercise, do something wild. But like, these are the small tweaks you can make to change the stimulus. Like I said, I've been doing the same exercise in the same rep range. I did it for over a year and a half, about 20 months. And now this is the change that I'm making after 20 months of doing the exact same thing. All right, set 3, just gotta beat 16. So I guess we beat it with a partial, but that's good enough. Another good thing to note too is so I've now progressed on all 3 of my first sets. So if I match on 4, that's fine. I've still progressed for the week on this exercise. And as you get closer and closer to your ceiling, to plateauing, the margin that your strength increases by, or whatever, the margin by which you progress is going to get more and more thin that way. So you might just be adding a rep on your first set, right? And then once you can't beat last week with a rep or weight, then it's time to look at making an adjustment, or just resetting your rep range, right? Which is something I can explain another time. It's good to show like visually how that would look, because in order for it to make sense, you gotta kind of see how it plays out over time. But I mean, essentially, like I would drop the weight to where I was maybe 4 weeks ago, and then you're just giving yourself some runway. So you progress from that each week. So you're giving yourself a little bit more time to recover. You probably maybe do a couple recovery days or a deload week before you do the reset. And that works pretty much every time. You'll usually always end up with a new PR by the end of that training phase. All right, so this is my big squat pattern movement. I'm only doing 2 sets of this because I can hammer 2 sets so hard that that's all I need. So I actually just realized that you can adjust the angle of this platform, and I've already used this twice. This is the first time I've realized that. So you're gonna definitely do a few warm-up sets. So I got 3 plates on. Last week I did, let's see, I think last week, I'll have to double check, but I did 6 plates, and both sets I did 8. So I'll probably add a whole quarter this week. So 6 1/4. Let's see how this feels. This is the steepest you can get the platform here. Oh yeah, that feels great. So I don't like to do too many warm-up reps for these because I don't want to burn all the glycogen out of my quads. So even that was kind of taxing. So yeah, the idea here on all your squat pattern movements is like be very, very controlled on the eccentric. Like you'll be able to do way more weight. I'll show you what I mean here. So the first rep I do is what you want to not do. The second rep is what you want to do. So like if I drop really fast, my quads are doing nothing. You're getting no quad stimulation. Right? And it's just harder on my joints. I'm gonna be able to do more weight, which all that's gonna do is load my joints, beat up my joints more. So this is how you wanna do it. Think of a couple good ways to think of it as you're keeping the tension in your quads or riding the tension with your quads. So I feel tension in my quads here. I'm staying on the quads the whole time, all the way down. Oof. So like, if you can do 6 plates the first way and only 3 or 4 the second way, it's way better to do it the second way, because that extra weight, you're doing the 6 plates, doing it the way where you drop, all that's going toward is beating the shit out of your joints and contributing to you not being able to do the exercises effectively and you not having as big of quads. All right, so I'll do 2 more warm-up sets. This one's with 5 plates. Then the next one I'll do will be with my working set weight, so 6 and a 25-pound plate. So that one just reminded me of something I have to start being more mindful of, is how long, because when you lock out obviously at the top, that gives you like a big break, and it makes it a lot harder if you try to maintain a shorter cadence between your reps. obviously, building muscle, we want to make things as hard on the muscle as possible, right? You don't want to avoid the parts of the exercises that are hard, like most guys who lift with their ego do, right? Like a lot of guys avoid the full stretch on their exercises. Why? That's the hardest part. So yeah, especially on your heavier lifts like this, you definitely want to do one warm-up set with the working set weight, just 2 or 3 reps. So I'll go for, I don't know, see how it feels, 2 or 3. All right, so here's what I meant earlier on the way here when I mentioned legs are your opportunity to see how far you can push. Last week, I definitely felt like I was on my last rep or stopped just before my last rep, but filming yourself doesn't allow you to lie to yourself. And I watched the video after and it's clear I had way more. So plus, last week, both of my sets, I did the same amount of reps. So 25 more pounds this week. I'm gonna at least try to match the reps. And I think I could maybe even get a few more. But yeah, like I said, this is the hardest I push my CNS. So, and to know whether or not you've done that successfully, you'll see after I finish this set, I will not be able to speak and it'll take me 3 minutes to catch my breath. And I probably won't start my next set until 5 minutes or longer. So, all right, here we go. I kind of just freaked myself out a bit. Oh, holy fuck. Oh. Oh, so I just did two more reps than I did last week and 25 more pounds. And I probably still could have done 2 more, honestly, which will probably be even more obvious when I watch this on video. Holy fuck. There's no comfortable position you can find after a set like that. All right, so because I got the 10 and the top of my rep range is 12, and I don't, just preference-wise right now for this exercise, I don't want to hit the top of the rep range yet. I'm replacing that 25 with a 45. So now 7 plates instead of 6 1/4. So it makes it a little confusing when you manipulate the weight between sets, but you know, if I get 7 or 8, it's probably good, especially after I've been resting for 5 minutes now. Oh. I think I was, my negatives or eccentrics, they were a bit quick for my first few reps. Let's try to slow that down as well. So if I get 6 this week on this, that's cool. On this
second set with more weight. But of course I'll do as many as I can, but I'm just gonna focus more on slowing down those eccentrics at the start. Oh, fuck. Oh. That was even better than the first one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to mark this on my spreadsheet because I'll probably be able to do more weight than I did this week. Probably 7.25 next week and match that first 10 reps, I think. All right, so we did our big, heavy loading squat pattern quad movement. So now we're gonna do more of our, I'm gonna call this a fine-tuning quad exercise. So essentially here, like I'm obviously on the heavy squat movement, you're really like, it's best to put, you get the most out of the stretch because you go deep in the hole, the weight is pushing on you, stretching your quad out. On the leg extension, you're in a position where you can contract your quad really hard like you can't on any squat pattern movement, right? Because if you flex your quad really hard on a heavy squat pattern movement, like that's risky for many reasons. You can either just injure your knee or worse, just completely tear an ACL, MCL, whatever, right? So anyway, that's why I like having the leg extension in. And the way that I do it is every rep, I hold the contraction for 3 seconds. And I'm doing high reps as well. Okay, so first set, 20 reps. I'm doing one plate higher on the stack of weight than last week. I'm not as concerned about like aggressively progressing on this. I do want to see a bit of progression, but this is more, like I said, I call it a detail fine-tuning exercise. So like I'd rather almost see progression. Like on the last few reps, I'll probably not be able to do that 3-second contraction hold. So on a weekly basis, I'd almost rather see progression in the form of getting a 3-second hold on every rep. I think last session I was able to do it. But anyway, enough blabbing. Same thing as with the seated hamstring curl. I put the seat back further than it should be. Just make sure you keep your butt pressed into the seat. So 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Oh. Whew. So I still have lots of runway with this one. Like the fact that I was able to hold the last rep for pretty close to 3 seconds. Like it almost want to be pushing so that the last few reps are not full 3-second contraction holds. So, and I'm a little more stingy with my rest time for this as well, because this is more about getting blood into the muscle, getting a pump, squeezing the muscle, etc., etc. Okay, so last week, second set was 18. So see if we can beat that and do a double progression with more weight this week. I keep saying last week, but should be saying 10 days ago. Last session. Okay. Sweet. So no, I only got 18. But notice on that, like, just because I'm focused on the contraction doesn't mean I'm skimping out. Still getting a nice full stretch. All right, so now I got these machine RDLs. So this is a sweet machine because well, they're not RDLs. I'm doing SLDLs, so more hamstring focused. So just basically less bend in the knee. That's really it. This machine's sweet because it keeps a lot of the stress off your back. It kind of pulls you a little bit forward. So it does allow you to push your butt back further without bending your knees. If you were to do that with a barbell, like you couldn't do that with a barbell because the barbell just pulls straight down with gravity, right? So last week I did 200 for 10. 10's the top of my rep range. So I'm increasing the weight by 30 pounds because I'd rather be closer to the bottom, especially on these. I thought I'd try the normal grips, but the Versa grips feel a lot better. All right, so yeah, you'll be able to see how this pulls me forward. And because of this, I don't really have to use a belt. Like, obviously make sure you brace your core. If you need a belt to help you do that because you're still learning, then I'll obviously use one if you have access to one of these machines. But so you'll see that the leg stays straight, but butt still comes pretty far back because of how this machine pulls you forward. So So with 30 more pounds, I was 3 short of 10, so that's fine. So now I'll work my way back up to 10 with reps with the same weight. So yeah, a lot of people struggle with these mentally. It's not. This is an exercise where, like, where you're getting the stimulus is basically the stretch entirely. There's no contraction, whether you're working your glutes or your hamstrings. So like squeezing up at the top does nothing, and you'll feel nothing. It's gonna feel no different than if you just squeeze your hamstrings or glutes standing, right? So all about the stretch. You got to go super slow. So it's not about packing as much weight on the bar as possible. It's about just focusing that tension on your hamstrings, on the eccentric, and when you're in the fully stretched position. So all right, so in episode 2, I did standing calf raises. I mentioned not really a fan of that machine, only really because my feet slip off the platform. Could be because of my shoes, but this is the machine, only other machine that's, well, yeah, the only other machine in the gym that's meant for calves that isn't seated calf raises, which I hate because I cannot get a full stretch with those. And I like this one way more, to the point where I might just do only this, which, you know, whatever, why not? Or I might try some of like the selector leg press machines for calves too. It's good to have variety, but I mean, hey, if this is better than anything else, I'll just stick with it. So yeah, donkey calf raises, very rare machine, at least in my city. Yeah, just like my other calf exercise, high rep. So, and same tempo, so 2-2-2-0. So holding the contraction for 2 seconds, 2 second eccentric, 2 second stretch, and then contraction as explosive as possible. I should specify the isometric contraction. So where you hold the contraction is 2 seconds. The contraction positive, as some people call it, that's explosive as possible, obviously. Last week, my tempo kind of broke down at about 10, so I'm leaving the weight the same. So same weight, same amount of reps, just going to try to keep the tempo more consistent a little further into the set. Yeah, that was a lot better. I think I rushed into them last week. My feet were cramping up. Not this week though. So I'm gonna be stingy with rest time for calves. So 2 minutes. Then how close I can get to 20 on the second set will determine whether or not I increase the weight next week. So I did 18 of this last week with the same weight. First set felt a lot better. So I'm gonna see if I can match my reps from the first set. I feel like I should be able to. Almost 19. Also a lot sloppier than first set, so I'll probably still go up in weight next week. Not really that important for calves. Why even bother? They don't grow anyway. Doesn't matter what you do. So I was just chatting with the chick who works at the front desk at the gym here, and they have to, it looks like at certain times of the day, make sure all the weights are in the right spot and take a picture of it. And I told her, how fucking retarded is it that you have to do this? Because people forget what they learned in fucking kindergarten on how to match shapes. So if you're a fucking moron who puts a 45-pound plate over a 25-pound plate or less, vice versa, in the gym, go back to fucking preschool because you're fucking stupid. And you're making it so a 120-pound gym employee has to do it for you. All right, so planks. Normally I was only doing, for a long time, 2 ab exercises per week, 3 sets each. I decided to throw in planks for an isometric variation. So before I like to try my best to do a sternum to pelvis variation. So like any crunch where your chest is coming up, right? And then a pelvis to sternum where you're raising your hips. Now I haven't been doing that here because the only pelvis to sternum exercise I like doing is the Roman chair leg raises, because I do not like doing hanging leg raises because I found it very difficult to hold myself up. It's harder on my arms than it is my abs, takes my focus off. So right now I'm doing just 2 sternum to pelvis and then these planks. So honestly, I'm a huge pussy with these because it's almost like I get bored before I definitely quit before I'm capable of going. So I don't know. Let's see. Last time I did them, I'm just doing 2 sets. I did a minute 46 and 58 seconds, which is like way less than I did the week before. Week before I did 2 minutes and 24 seconds and 1:38. So let's see if I can beat that this week. So 2 minutes and 24 seconds. And honestly, again, on these, I don't really care that much about progressing. But might as well try. All right. Oh, 154. See, I'm a big puss. These definitely can test your mental strength more than anything else, but hey, my abs are fucking in pain right now, so I got what I wanted out of that first set. What'd I say, 154? So another reason these are beneficial as someone who competes is when you're on stage, you have to be mindful of keeping your waist tight the whole time you're on stage. Because the whole time you're on stage, you could be being judged, whether it's while you're posing or not. And also like in your transitions, which it's hard to do. So like it's good to do things like, the vacuums I did in episode 2 that I showed in the morning that I do every morning. Plus just practicing keeping your core contracted for extended periods of time. My coach even says, like in the off season, I was telling him last year, man, I always feel like my gut's fucking hanging out. And he's like, dude, be a bodybuilder and keep your waist sucked in at all times. So I try to keep that top of mind. It's hard to do though, because it makes just walking around day to day way more exhausting. Oh. All right, I'm still disappointed that I can't do more than I did my first week, but I think a lot of that maybe has to do with fatigue too. Now I'm making excuses, so fuck it. Okay, so at least more than 2 minutes. Come on. I think the key is to not look at how much time you have left. Oh. Fuck. 108. I'm sure a lot of it is how much I fried my CNS and core training legs today. So, hey, end of the day, core is sore. So something must have happened, right? All right, quick little leg pump check before we head home. Okay, good enough. Okay, post-workout ritual is nicotine. Literally, because I'm so hooked on this stuff that the only
times in a 24-hour period, I'm not either chewing a piece of nicotine gum or have one of these nicotine pouches in, is either when I'm training, pre-training also, so between my pre-workout meal and all the way to the end of my workout. So that's why I'm kind of jonesing for one after my workout. And then, of course, while I sleep as well, which nothing wrong with it, except for the financial these are insanely expensive in Canada. One of these is $21 Canadian, which doesn't really matter because you can get a whole log, which is a 5-pack of Zins for $5. So it's, what is that, like I don't even know how much more that is, like a couple 1,000% more. I can't even math. That's too much math for me, especially after a leg workout. All right, let's get out of here. It is so nice out right now. And currently in my city, Calgary, there's the greatest outdoor show on earth going on. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's the Calgary Stampede. It's probably, I think it's the world's biggest rodeo. It's like the Stanley Cup or Super Bowl of rodeo. And also just a huge degenerate drinking fest. So lots of concerts and like people are just day drinking. Everyone's dressed up as a wannabe cowboy or cowgirl, which is fine. It's all good. It's fun. I've lived here my whole life though, so it's kind of like I'm not really that interested in it, although I do kind of feel like I'm missing out sometimes. But I mean, of course, I could go if I wanted to. But to me, it's just too costly to my goals. The way I like to think of this is like this is like I'll drive by maybe a bunch of people, and I live downtown too, so I see it all the time. If you watch my Instagram stories, you can see one of the tents they have set up near my apartment. I can hear bass from like 8 p.m. to 2 a.m., which isn't bad. Actually, I make it sound worse than it is in my stories. But anytime I feel like kind of jealous, seeing people like having fun and partying and stuff, I used to be into that. Like I was a fucking super degenerate party animal from the ages of about 15 to like 19-ish. So whenever I start feeling kind of like jealous of that kind of thing, I play out the full scenario of what will happen if I decide to go and party. And I know very well how that'll go. So I'll go out, and there's like a 75% chance that it won't even be fun. Right? You especially in the stampede scenarios, because like I said, there's big tents and shit. You end up having to wait in like a huge fucking line, or you have to pay a couple $100 to the bouncers to skip the line. Then you get into a tent that's absolutely where you're packed in like a motherfucking sardine. It stinks in there. It's hot, sweaty. It's really hard to get a drink. If you want to get anywhere, you have to plow through a bunch of sweaty, drunk degens. So it's not even fun. I could list all the reasons why it's not even fun in the first place. Then you end up spending a couple $100 on drinks and whatever else. And then you wake up feeling like shit because you're hungover, and it ruins the entire next day. I'm going to be behind on a bunch of work. I'm going to miss a workout. I'm going to be way under recovered. I'll probably need multiple days to recover enough to start having good workouts again. So does that sound appealing now? No, there's a lot of other things I'd rather do for fun. So for me, like when you hear me say it's too costly to my goals to do that kind of thing, I'm not really sacrificing anything. I'm just not doing something I don't fucking enjoy doing, but feel pressure to do because it appears fun on the surface when I see other people doing it. So it really helps for me, like anytime. This applies to like cheat meals as well, eating off-plan food. If you fully play out the scenario in your mind from like start to finish to what happens afterwards and the consequences, chances are it's going to become a lot less appealing, right? Now, if I were to do something Stampede related, it would be go and watch the rodeo during the day. Other options are like there's like what the fuck do you call it? There's like an amusement park that's kind of shitty too. They call that the Stampede Grounds. There's like it's like any amusement park, games, rides, sketchy rides that they slap together in a week. It's also super packed down there, so I just like to go for a walk outside near the grounds and just kind of absorb the energy kind of thing, and that's good enough for me. So that's what I'll probably do today because it's super hot out, it's super sunny. Get my tan on. Yeah, that's all I need to keep me happy. Like I said, it's no sacrifice for me not to go enjoy Stampede because that's not the only way I'd enjoy this is if I went to the rodeo, and that's whatever. That's not even that exciting to me anyway. So a question that I often get asked is how do you what are some strategies you use to deal with when times get hard? I forget exactly how it was worded, but what do you do when things get hard? How do you push through it? And I mean, things haven't really been hard for the last couple months for me. Like, I really enjoyed prep. Honestly, had a blast. This rebound has been awesome as well. Still having fun, not as much as prep, but still enjoying myself. Still not having a tough time at all. But last year at this time, when I had pushed my body weight up from 160 to 220 pounds, so 60 pounds in a few months. I felt like shit all the time. Really heavy, always digesting food. Every meal I really had to gag down. And what I like to think of, especially now, especially realize this now, is 7 years ago, I was working in northern Alberta, yanking cables all day, which it wasn't as bad in the summer, but in the winter it was brutal because it was minus 50. So working 12-hour shifts, living out of a camp in the middle of nowhere, 14 days straight, 7 days off. And while I was up there, I was wishing I could be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, living the exact life that I've been living for the last few years since I started my coaching business. And especially over the last 2 years, I've been focusing on bodybuilding and pursuing the dream that I've had secretly since I was 18. So obviously not everyone can tap into that, but I mean, anyone can get to this point if you really, and I don't want to make myself sound like I've made it or succeeded, but I really have designed my life to reach the point that it's reached at this point, and I continue to do so for where I want to be in the future. Anyone can do that. It really just comes down to not quitting. You look at the photos of me from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years ago when I first started. If you knew me back then, you wouldn't have believed that I could get to where I am now. Again, I really hate to sound like I'm bragging and like I've made it, because I definitely haven't, and I'm happy to continue to pursue for the rest of my life because that's the fun part of it. But hopefully that inspires some of you. It may not appear based on where you're at now that you can get to where it is you want to go, but as long as you just don't give up, you don't quit, there's no way you can possibly fail. It's just a matter of when, not if. So another question I got, these are in the Q&As I do once or twice a week on my Instagram story, so I'll kind of retouch on them, I think, on some of my vlogs, at least some of the better ones that I have more to say about. But one of my friends, he was into lifting, and now all of a sudden he's gotten very seriously into marathon running. Almost looks like Iron Man's. He's always cycling. He has a big fancy road bike, and he runs. I don't know if he does triathlon because I've never seen him swimming, but maybe he does. Obviously, you can't really. It's not as easy to film. But he was saying he has a lot of nagging joint pain. So his question was what do I do to recover? I get massages. I see PT. I sleep well. When it comes to recovery, now this doesn't really fully relate to his situation because for him, I think it's just a lot of wear and tear. And he is doing pretty much everything correctly by the sounds of it. But when it comes to recovery, this is a very common misconception. Things like getting massages, chiropractor, PT, ice baths. When it comes to recovery, think of recovery like if you are under recovered and you have a high recovery demand, your cup is empty. And to get recovered, imagine that means the cup has to be full of water. All of those modalities that I just mentioned, massage, chiropractor, ice baths, PT, anything similar to that, that's like spitting in the cup. It's not going to fill it. What fills the cup is mainly two things: getting a lot of good sleep, taking rest days, and taking long periods of time off, of at least I'd say like 4 days, all the way up to like, people should take maybe about 2 weeks completely off per week. And for this particular friend in the situation I was talking about earlier, he's still lifting, and he is doing the right thing here. But if you're doing multiple sports, so he's lifting and he's doing endurance sports, honestly, like if you wanted to do the best you could at the endurance sports, all I would do was endurance training. I would do no lifting at all. Now he wants to do a little bit of both, so he's reduced his lifting down to 2 days per week. So if you do still want to do both, that's the right way to go about it. Is you have to reduce, and you have to kind of decide which thing is more important to you. If you try to balance both equally, then I mean that's fine too. You're still going to have to do less of both than you normally would if you only did one of them. But that's kind of what it comes down to, is you have to like find that balance, decide which one's more important to you, and balance your training and recovery accordingly. And do not be afraid to take time off. It's a big thing I have come up with clients at a certain point. Is a lot of my clients will reach a point where they just really, really need to take like a week off, but they're afraid that taking a week off will make them go backwards. 99.9% of the time, I'd even say 100% of the time, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, you actually need the recovery, you will notice so much progress happen after a week or two completely off from the gym from a bodybuilding perspective. For example, during my prep, at about 3 weeks out, I was kind of forced to recover because I got sick. And my next check-in photos after I took 3 days off to recover from being sick was when I started seeing striations in my glutes. So is that because I got sick and recovered? It's likely, for sure. Nothing else really changed. I wasn't training. I wasn't doing cardio. I cut all that stuff out. So recovery goes a long way. That's when the muscle growth happens. That's when, a lot of the fat loss happens, is when you're recovering. So very, very important. And for a lot of people, that's a big kind of mindset leap you have to make. So as I'm sure you may be wondering, what was that device you were wearing on your chest? And as per the thumbnail and title of this video, what is wrong with your heart? So as I've mentioned before, bodybuilding is not healthy, especially when taken to a certain level, a certain extreme. And it's hard on your organs. One of your organs is your heart. Now, what I mean by taken to the extreme is under 2 years ago, so about 21 months ago, I weighed 160 pounds. I'm 5'8". That's a healthy weight for me. Within the next, so from the time I was 160, within the next, let's see, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. In the next 9 months later, I was 220 pounds. So I gained 60 pounds in 9 months. So that's a lot of weight to gain. That is stressful on your body and your organs and your heart. And then I pushed my weight another 10 pounds higher.
And then now in the last, well, starting like between the day of my show, June 1st, and like June 21st, I gained like 21 pounds. My weight has kind of settled. I think I've gained 30 pounds in the last like 6 weeks now or so. So that is a rapid amount of weight gain and a lot of weight to gain in a very short period of time. So a good rule in bodybuilding for health is to get your heart checked every 2 years or so. And so the way that the Canadian healthcare system works, there's 2 specific tests I wanted to get. One was an echocardiogram and one is a CT calcium score, I believe it's called. So the way that the healthcare system works in Canada, obviously it's free. We have universal healthcare, which is great. I'm actually a big fan of that, obviously. But the thing with that is you cannot get certain, like they'll only treat you based on symptoms you have. So if I were to go to my doctor and say, hey, because I'm bodybuilding and putting stress on my body and my heart, I'd like to get an echocardiogram and a CT calcium score. They would say, well, do you have any of these symptoms? And if I was honest and said no, then they would not get me those tests. So because I know this, and because I know I wanted to get an echocardiogram and a CT calcium score, if that's the right term for it, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Because I wanted those things, and I knew that they'll only set me up to get those things done if I have symptoms. I Googled what the symptoms are that would require those tests, and I told my doctor that I had all those symptoms so I could check my heart. So I got the echocardiogram. They didn't book me for a CT calcium score. He booked me for 2 types of echocardiograms. One is called the stress echocardiogram, which I did the other day. And then one's just a normal echocardiogram, which is booked for late August, so in a couple weeks, in about a month and a half. So because I said I had every symptom, they also gave me this, it's called a Holter monitor, so that's what you saw me wearing. I should be wearing it now, for 72 hours just to monitor my heart for palpitations, to see if there's any palpitations. So long story short, if your spidey senses were telling you that the thumbnail and the title of this video was clickbait, then you are correct. My heart's totally fine based on the stress echocardiogram, which is they hooked me up to a bunch of shit, put me on a treadmill, and just basically kicked my ass on the treadmill while monitoring my heart, and then also checking what it looks like with an ultrasound in between. So that's nice to know, because I know that I'm putting a lot of stress on my heart. But yeah, then also because I checked off that I have heart palpitations on the questionnaire, they gave me the Holter monitor to wear for 72 hours. I should be wearing it now, but they told me the fucking sticky things would stay on and I could shower and work out and just live normally, but they don't stay on. They gave me 2 extra ones initially, and my first shower, one of them fell off. My second shower, the second one fell off. So then I had to drive, which is to the place, which is 20 minutes away, to get more. And they gave me like a bunch more, but now I'm already down to the last 3, and I'm supposed to wear that until 2:30 tomorrow. And between now and then, I'm going to shower 1, 2, probably 2 more times. So I'm just going to wait until after my last shower before I have to go and then wear it. And then this way I can also, because it's super hot outside, I can go for a walk outside to get my steps in. So, yeah, sorry, that was clickbait. Am I a piece of shit for doing clickbait like that, where I make you think I damage my heart? Maybe, but I'm just trying to play this YouTube game. And now you know that if you are considering taking bodybuilding seriously, or you already are, these are tests that you should be getting done. If you live in Canada, now you know what to do. If you live in the States, you're probably going to have to pay quite a bit of money to get those done, honestly, which if you're taking bodybuilding seriously, that's something that you should have or should consider before you do.
But yeah, so I'm just gonna eat my post-workout meal, and then I'm gonna go soak up some sun. All right, so back from my walk. So yeah, it was a good day today, good leg day. It is 5:21 p.m. and I have like 300 steps to go, so I don't really have to worry about walking for the rest of the day, which is awesome, which is why I love nice days like this where I can get out in the afternoon, and it's just much easier to get a lot of steps in when you go for a walk outside because it's more enjoyable, and I'll just walk for longer kind of naturally. So yeah, I did not show my meals today. I am cooking up some chicken breast right now in the air fryer. I've had the air fryer for about a month now. It definitely is nice to have. I do sometimes still prefer cooking chicken breast in the oven because I get like, I'm not sure how much, I think it's 2.2 kilogram packages of chicken breast. And I can cook 2 of them in the oven, which will last me like 4 days. And the air fryer, I can only fit 1. So that'll last about 2 days. It is a little bit better in the air fryer, but and also it cooks faster in the air fryer. So I'm like out of chicken breast right now, so I'm using the air fryer instead of the oven, because the oven you have to let preheat and then cook them for 40 minutes. But anyway, I didn't show my meals today because today was my normal training day diet, which I went over in detail in vlog episode 2. So if you missed that and you want to see a full day of eating on the meals that I ate today, those are the exact same meals that I covered in detail in episode 2. So you can go back and watch that one. So yeah, not much to see for the rest of the day here, so we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully this will be a shorter episode. I will update you guys as things change in my program. Next vlog, so next episode here will be... Yeah, next episode will be my push B day. So that is different than the push day you've already seen. So I will be filming that and whatever else is going on. But otherwise, that's a wrap on episode 3. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new episodes. And we'll see you on the next one.